Hello, profilers! It's time for our weekly rendezvous.
The podcast that shares with you true cases of French crime. And now, the finale of our episode, Lost Girl.
Enjoy the story.
The 22nd of May, 2013, marks the beginning of Tony Mayon's trial. If convicted, he faces life imprisonment. He maintains the same version of events in front of the judge, claiming that he accidentally ran over Laetitia.
He explained that he was scared and didn't know what to do, so he decided to take the body back to his cousin's house. He claims to have stabbed her with his knife without revealing the exact number of times.
The reason? To make the investigators believe that the murder had been orchestrated by a local criminal. He denies, however, that he was behind the dismemberment. He would have tried to do it, but it was too difficult for him. According to him, he enlisted the help of an accomplice whose identity he won't reveal. He calls him Mr. X.
But Mayon's claims don't really stand up to the physical evidence presented by the investigators. The scooter accident could not have killed Laetitia. Tire marks show that the Peugeot 106 braked before impact, therefore reducing the vehicle's speed.
The evidence also contradicts Mayon's version that his car lifted off the ground. The car showed no impact marks, nor any broken headlights or side view mirrors. The investigators concluded that Mayon had instead pushed the scooter to force it to stop. Another piece of evidence that doesn't match Mayon's statement is the cause of death. The autopsy revealed the young girl's cause of death was asphyxia due to strangulation. The suspect sinks further into lies and contradictions. Who really is Tony Mayon? He defines himself as a predator. He grew up in the town of Couëron, near Nantes. His parents separated when he was just 4 years old. His mother started a new life with another man, a situation the young boy could not accept. According to Tony, his new stepfather was extremely violent towards the young boy. His mother loved him, but Tony didn't feel that way. For him, his mother was more interested in her new companion than in her own child. So, young Tony grows up with the idea that his mother hates him, rejects him, and abandons him. He interprets this as a betrayal on his mother's part. The little boy's behavior changes. He went from being a model student to an unruly one, running away from home, getting into mischief, and behaving badly. His mother could no longer handle the situation and decided to place him in a children's home. During his teenage years, he gains a reputation in a housing estate near Nantes, where some people declared,
He was scary, so it was better not to hang around him too much.
Even back then, there were stories of violence with him. He committed his first offenses and went on to serve his first prison term. At just 16 years old, he was convicted of car theft. He was then convicted on 12 other occasions for outrage against law enforcement, robbery, and aggravated assault, including the rape of his cellmate. He spent a total of 11 years behind bars. During his time in prison, he had a brief love affair with a woman who gave birth to his son.
In February 2010, upon his release from prison, he moved into a caravan. But without a job, he gradually sank into alcohol and drugs. A woman close to Tony recounts.
He used to take cannabis and cocaine, and in the end, he used them very regularly. I saw him taking them first thing in the morning.
Despite his unconventional behavior, he still manages to seduce people. His atypical physique and bad boy looks appeal to women, but his relationships never last very long. A close friend states,
He was looking to settle down. He wanted a wife, but the problem was that he was too possessive and jealous. When he had someone, she had to be just for him. He wouldn't accept anyone else.
excessive possessiveness, leading to violence and mistreatment of his female companions. According to the psychiatrist who met him in prison, Tony Mayon suffers from several behavioral disorders. He is both paranoid, he thinks that others are angry with him, and also has a megalomaniac dimension, a desire for power and control which makes him extremely violent. He is described as a psychopath, manipulative, and with very few emotions. He doesn't suffer from a mental illness, but from a personality disorder. And that's what led to his actions on the evening of January 18th, 2011. He was afraid, as he was already a registered sex offender following the rape of his cellmate. As soon as Laetitia threatened to reveal the sexual assault to everyone, he decided to kill her. At a solidarity march in memory of Laetitia, many expressed their indignation and anger.
I'm so angry because I have 3 daughters and it doesn't just happen to others. And this man should have stayed in prison and never got out.
For me, he's not a murderer. He's a monster. He deserves nothing more than to have the death penalty reinstated.
Tony Mayon's trial opens in a few days, and Frank Perrais, the girl's father, is impatiently waiting for this moment. He thinks about his daughter every day. He's been suffering for 2 years, and it's exhausting for him to wait so long for the murderer's trial. Frank Perrais is preparing to face it. I'm not afraid to look him in the eye, he says. He simply wants Tony to take responsibility for his actions and tell the whole truth. Because up till now, he's never really told anyone in detail about the crime he committed. He just wants to play. And according to Frank, he wants to control the world. While waiting for his trial, Tony Mayon writes letters addressed directly to the judge, as we can see from this excerpt.
January 18th could have been a day like any other, a day of solitude and melancholy, sinking into substances. At that moment, I saw Laetitia.
He goes on to recount part of the accident.
I hit something, and the shock went right through the steering wheel. I stopped the car dead in my tracks. I saw Laetitia lying on the ground, her scooter in the ditch. I leaned over, opened the visor of her helmet, and saw the blood inside. She didn't move. The devil took hold of me. I put her in the trunk. I can't remember what I did. It's a total blank.
On the day of his trial, there's a huge crowd, including many curious onlookers who want to see the famous Tony Meillon, whose mysterious personality fascinates them. After considering all the witness testimonies and evidence against him, members of the jury find Tony Meillon guilty of the murder of Laetitia Perrais. The judge pronounces the verdict: life imprisonment for Tony Meillon. This verdict is accompanied by a minimum 22-year sentence to serve, as well as a public safety detention period. The convicted man will remain imprisoned in a specialized facility for as long as he is still considered dangerous by doctors and psychiatric experts. Certainly not satisfied with the jury's decision, he decides to appeal, promising to name the accomplice who had dismembered young Laetitia. He is heard a second time, but once again, it's a false lead. The name he gave was someone who had already been questioned by the police and had a solid alibi. However, the new sentence will be more lenient. He will be exempt from health detention at the end of his sentence and will be able to apply for parole at the end of his stay in prison. But he will still be sentenced to life imprisonment with a condition of 22 years without parole. This is one of France's biggest criminal sentences to date. He will not be released until 2034, at which time a review will be carried out to determine whether he should be released or left behind bars. At the start of his sentence, he had a difficult time acting out and even added an extra year in prison for setting fire to his cell. However, today, he seems to have settled down and is currently serving his sentence in Assisheim prison in the east of France.
However, our case doesn't end here. We can see the chaos Tony Meillon introduced into young Laetitia's life. But what could have led such a bright and motivated girl to spend time with a guy like Tony? There's still more to this story, and for that, we have to go back to the beginning of the girl's transition into foster care.
In 2005, the girls decided to opt for a foster care family and were sent for a trial period to Gilles and Michel Patron, who live in a house in Pornic, France. The trial period went very well, and everyone was very happy. On April 15th, 2005, it became official, and the judge established Rue de la Rogère in Pornic as the girls' new home. Gilles Patron, born in 1950 in La Montagne, a boilermaker by profession, is a former accounting secretary of the shipbuilding division in Indre. Laid off due to downsizing measures, he became a family assistant in 1995 for the Loire-Atlantique General Council. From that moment on, the Patron family took in foster children. In total, the family has taken in 6 youth in a long-term placement and 48 in temporary placement. Gilles Patron is also a foster family delegate for the Pays de Retz region. An athlete himself, he also coaches judo, soccer, and gymnastics. Michelle Patron, his wife, is a retired Catholic school teacher. The twins continue, as before, to attend the same school as they were in foster care. In 2011, Laetitia Perrais worked in a work-study program at the Hôtel de Nantes in La Bannerie en Retz, preparing for a waitressing diploma at a training center in Saint-Nazaire. Her salary was equivalent to the minimum wage. Her sister, Jessica, was studying for a diploma in cooking. On the outside, Laetitia was a trouble-free girl with a boyfriend named Kevin and led a rather quiet life. But according to several witnesses, in recent months, she had been marked by a sadness that no one really understood. Her behavior was changing, according to those close to her. In the weeks leading up to her abduction, she wrote several suicide and farewell letters to her loved ones. Just 2 months after Laetitia's murder, another person was taken into custody and forced to defend himself to the police. To everyone's dismay, it was Gilles Patron, the adoptive father of the 2 twin girls, Laetitia and Jessica Perrais. He has been accused of sexually assaulting several of the girls he housed, including his own adopted daughter, Jessica. At first, he firmly denied the accusations, but eventually broke down and explained that he had only had relations with Jessica after she had come of legal age, that it was all consensual, and that they were in a relationship. In 2006, Gilles Patron began sexually abusing Jessica, taking advantage of the emotional ties that had been formed with her. Gilles Patron, the adoptive father of Laetitia and Jessica, was sentenced to 8 years in prison in 2014 for the rape and sexual assault of 5 victims, including Jessica. Jessica believes that her sister is also a victim of the man they regarded as their adoptive father, a belief later confirmed by Laetitia's best friend, Leah. In 2010, Leah filed a complaint for assault, and one of Jessica's friends lodged a complaint of inappropriate touching. Laetitia is said to have confided to a friend that she was also a victim of Gilles Patron, but this will never be officially proven. He was released from prison at the end of 2017, thanks to a reduced sentence. Today, he is a free man. As of recording, we now know that Jessica is 31 and has left the region for good. She had just too much trauma in that area, and it was impossible for her to continue living there. She wishes to remain anonymous, to try and continue living a quiet life. She's in a relationship and no longer works in the restaurant business.
Thank you for watching our video.
We are excited to share these stories with you and to give a voice to the victims worldwide.
If you enjoyed this story,
You can help us out by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and punching the notification bell.
very important, don't forget to give us your opinions in the comments.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Au
Au
revoir!
revoir!